Dale.
The United States is one of the best industrialized countries in the world. We are innovators in almost every facet of this modern world. So why does the United States education system rank so low when it comes to the education of our students? Many politicians, including presidents, have enacted programs to improve this education condition in the United States. The most notable of these is the No Child Left Behind Act. No Child Left Behind was put in place to ensure the success of our students, as well as to hold teachers and schools accountable for their students' success. The main way of assessing the success of this program is through standardized testing. While No Child Left Behind is a valiant effort made by lawmakers, its implementation does not help our students, but in turn leaves many behind. Standardized testing can be unfair for English as a second language learners, regardless of their command of the English language. Cultural differences and nuances are not taken into account when these standardized tests are formed and administered throughout the United States. These students are given the same test as students who are born and raised speaking English. As a result, these students are often tracked into remedial classes or held back based on these tests. We are doing these students a disservice by implementing No Child Left Behind. In most cases, these students stay on the remedial track as a result. As a result, English as a second language learners students have some of the highest dropout rates. ESL students are not the only ones that are put at disadvantage with these standardized tests. Regular students also are disadvantaged because these tests do not ask questions in the ways that students are traditionally taught. There are several factors that can contribute to a student's scores on these tests. Stress is one of these main factors. It's hard to do well on a test of this importance when your grade determines whether you move on to the next grade or you get to hang out with your friends for the next year. Some students perform poorly on these tests due to the fact that they don't understand the questions. Since the proctors are not allowed to help the students in any way, the students get the questions wrong. If the questions were reworded in terminology they understood, they may have known the answer. These standardized tests assume that most of the students are on the same level, and that is not necessarily true. The No Child Left Behind Act also provided accountability for the teachers, a way of making sure that teachers are actually teaching and helping their students progress. The problem with this is that the standardized tests are inaccurate and unfair. In the same way that they don't accurately assess students, it is equally inaccurate when assessing how well a teacher is teaching. While No Child Left Behind is being revamped in some states, most states still regard it as the most effective way of assessing students and holding teachers accountable. There is a much more effective and less stressful way to assess our students and to accurately hold our teachers accountable. This process is called looping. The concept of looping is that one teacher will teach the same class, the same group of students for 3 years or more, graduating with the students every year. By having teachers matriculate with their students, this gives the teachers valuable insight into their class. This allows the teachers to gain knowledge on each student's strengths and weaknesses and tailor their lessons and classroom sessions to the needs of the class, helping them to succeed over time, because learning is a process. By getting rid of the traditional standardized testing and using looping, this means that the students will be evaluated on their grades and coursework. While formal assessment will still be used, it will not decide what track a student is, nor will it determine whether a student moves on to the next grade. Instead, these jobs will be given to the teacher, who will know what each student is capable of at the end of 3 years. Teachers are trained to teach and assess, so why not put their schooling to good use, instead of using biased standardized tests? Through using the looping method in classrooms, teachers will be held accountable based on the progress of their students and the quality of their work. My father always used to say, "The proof is in the pudding." If we want to hold our teachers accountable, why not judge them based on their students' work and progress? Teachers whose class does not perform well reflects poorly on that teacher. Since there was ample time for the students to progress with the teacher's guidance and they did not, then maybe it's the teacher's fault and not the student. On the same note, teachers whose classes matriculate beyond them and succeed should be praised and rewarded for their dedication. When a teacher does not meet the standards, then they will be put on probation, pending their new class's success. I believe this to be a much more effective and accurate way of assessing teachers. This will also alleviate unneeded stress and anxiety amongst the students, as well as garner motivation for our students to want to do well in school, instead of wanting to do well on one test. It is clear that the American education system needs reform. While an effort was made, it is safe to say that it was a complete and utter miss. The No Child Left Behind Act was good in theory, but not so effective when put into practice. I believe that looping is the solution to our education problem in the United States, and that once put into action, America and all of its parents, teachers, and political officials will truly see that the proof is in the pudding.
Wow, pudding.